All right. Are you confused about supplements? Do you ever wonder, how do I know what's good and what's not good? What should I be taking every day? People tell you you should take supplements. Some people say you shouldn't, or you never need them, or you can get everything you need from your food. Well, in today's show, I'm going to actually go through what makes a good quality supplement. And by the end of the show, you're going to know exactly what to be looking for, what ingredients are good and not good. You're going to know what you should be taking on a daily basis. And yes, I said, what should you be taking on a daily basis? Because I believe that you should have some kind of supplementation. And there is a caveat to that, which we'll get to. But by the end of this show, you're going to know where to find these good quality products, as well as what to look for to make sure they are right for you. So let's get started. So this is called Navigating the Confusion of Supplements. There's so much in the world of supplementation, and it's hard to know what is right for you. The products, the packaging looks really good. You turn it over and man, it looks like it has everything in it. So we're going to actually review what that means for you. And when you start to see all that pretty packaging, you're not going to get duped into purchasing. So a lot of people they're lost, they're confused, they're just not clear on what's good and what's not. And I have actually given my patients a lot of information with regards to searching for supplements, finding the right ones. And God bless them. They will come to me and say, well, it's third party tested or it's GMP certified. And we'll talk about what those mean in a minute. But then I'll say, well, it's third party tested for what? So there's definitely, as we learn, we will end up going a little bit deeper. I hope to not confuse you at all in here. I hope we're going to be able to clear up some of those questions. So the FDA actually has strict regulations on the fact that these companies cannot put out any products that are adulterated or misbranded. Companies need to be able to put a product out that actually has in the bottle what is on the label. I usually have a bottle of supplements on my desk, but they should be able to put out to the market what is in the bottle and what matches that label. And the consumer should be able to trust in that process. The problem is a lot of companies don't self-test. They don't have the proper testing regulations in place that allow for that consistency, that product quality, that makes sure that when you look at a label and you're looking for specific things, that when you take what's in that bottle, that you have the confidence to know that what's in the bottle matches the label. So what the FDA does is they just go through and they spot test. So people aren't necessarily, while the FDA has regulations, it's up to the supplement manufacturers to then police themselves that they follow the FDA guidelines. There's several big box stores that have gotten cease and desist orders for having products on their shelves that doesn't match in the bottle to the label. So we're going to go through that so that you don't actually become a victim of purchasing things that aren't going to serve you. And frankly, they can be dangerous. If a bottle says that it contains no gluten or no dairy or no shellfish, but it actually has contamination of that can be really dangerous for someone who cannot have those ingredients. So it's even more important to make sure that you're knowing where these products come from. So we're going to go through how are supplements actually made, what can possibly go wrong in the process, and then what do we test for, how do they make the product, how to read the label, and then what's your baseline core nutrition? So stick around to the end because we're going to talk about this baseline core nutrition and how that is going to benefit you. So first of all, how are supplements made? This is very much like baking a cake. You have to have all the proper raw materials. If you have too much flour or not enough butter or oil, or maybe you don't have enough spices in there, the consistency, the flavor, it's might not bake up properly. So a supplement is very similar to this. The ingredients need to be in the right ratios. And like, let's say it's baking soda. If your baking soda isn't good anymore, it's not going to react. And then you won't get that puffiness when it bakes up. So the ingredients actually have to be alive, if you will, or active. We'll say that. So your ingredients need to have an active role, and that's a key part. So what can possibly go wrong? You see this cupcake or cookie here, and it just, splats down. And so this is essentially what happens is we get a breakdown of the overall product. So when the products are made themselves, we can get raw materials that aren't the correct raw materials. So what that means is that if we go to number 2, you take the word of the supplier. If I'm making a multivitamin and I need a certain amount of zinc, let's say, and the supplier comes to me and says, here's my zinc, and they'll bring a certificate to the manufacturer and they'll say, this is zinc and this is the quality of it. We've tested it and it's X, grams per, whatever, however they measure it. This is the first fail. Most companies will just take that and they'll take the word of the supplier and then they go make their product. We're going to talk about where that fails further down the line in a minute. So if it's the wrong raw material, or if you take the word of the supplier, that's not great. You can have poor temperature regulation. So a lot of ingredients need to be regulated by temperature, mostly coolness, in an effort to make sure that they stay active. Lack of testing. So again, the raw materials need to get tested by the manufacturer. There needs to be third-party testing, this assaying we call it. Does the company self-test their products, or again, do they take the word of the supplier? Many companies will just assay or test by batch, or I'm sorry, not assay by batch. They'll assay once a year, or they'll spot test. When you have a good quality company, they're assaying every single batch that they put out to make sure that what is on the label matches what's in the bottle. And again, here we go. It should be made in a good manufacturing practices certified facility. This is just another layer. Some products I've seen, they're made in GMP certified facilities and they still have some garbage ingredients in them, like artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors, which you see as that next one. We don't want to have any artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors in our products, or have any synthetic or genetically modified ingredients. We're taking supplements to benefit our health. So when you start putting these artificial ingredients in there, now you can see that that goes against what you're trying to do. And the company is attempting to fool you into purchasing their product because they just want to make money. So testing is the first critical and last step. It must start with the raw materials, going back to what I was saying. So this is where most companies first fail, is that they get the raw materials and then they just take that and they go make the product, taking the word of the supplier. And oftentimes, and I've used companies, high quality companies, where they can't get the ingredients right from their supplier. And so they've stopped making certain products because they can't get the raw materials. Where many companies, and there's some really well-known companies out there that are not third-party testing the raw materials. So a good company is going to get the raw materials, say, great, thanks, but we're going to test it ourselves. And they'll send that out for third-party assay to make sure that what the supplier is giving them is what is actually in that ingredient. So, and most ingredients will require some kind of temperature control so they don't lose their potency. So you have to trust that the company making it then takes it, and if it wasn't handled properly from the supplier off to the manufacturer without good temperature control, that's a problem. So the manufacturer should take it, test it, make sure it's still potent. And then be mindful of products that claim to be everything in one pill. There's, again, some very popular companies out there, and they're label themselves as whole food supplements. And you look at that label and it has everything on you're like, wow, this is amazing. And it has everything. The problem there is that you can't put all the ingredients into one product all at the same time because it'll affect others. And we're going to see that in a minute. So we take that, we test that raw material, we make our product, and then when we get to the end, this is critical, we have to test that last final product, again, independently by a third party, to be sure that when we made it, that it is now what we said it was. Okay. So a good quality company is going to have third party assaying on the front end from the raw material to the back end at the completed final product. And then that way you can trust that what you're getting is what you're getting, what it says it is. So this is a really famous product. This is actually a multivitamin, and I wanted to go through this ingredient list with you. So the first ingredient is calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is the cheapest form of calcium that you can buy. It does not absorb very well. It's basically like chalk. Magnesium oxide, I don't have it highlighted here, but magnesium oxide is it's a form of magnesium. It's one of the cheapest ones. It does not absorb very well, meaning you don't get the bioactive availability that you should out of the calcium and the magnesium in there. This dibasic calcium phosphate, again, these are ingredients that just are not serving your body. They're not going to absorb very well. I'm going to go over here to this D-L-alpha tocopherol. So you see how this says vitamin E? There's a lot of great sources that we can get natural vitamin E from. And I will teach you a little trick right here. So if you look at the ingredients on your bottle and it says D-alpha, that is a natural form of vitamin E. This D-alpha, this is synthetic. So you want to avoid this at all costs. Okay, so here's where you don't have to be a scientist in nutritional health in order to understand that this is not good for you. And even if you don't remember the D-alpha, let's go here. Blue 2 Lake. That's an artificial color. BHT. This is a carcinogenic preservative used in food and supplements. It's not good for you. Modified cornstarch, hydrogenated palm oil, any of these hydrogenated oils, they cause your cells to dysfunction, and then your body isn't going to regulate properly. Soy, we want to avoid anything with these processed soys. These are probably genetically modified. I'm making an assumption, but based on what I'm seeing here, cheap ingredients is what this company is going for. We have polyethylene glycol. That's what helps with the slipperiness of it. Polyvinyl alcohol, again, used in plastics. Here's another food dye. Here's another food dye down here. Again, zinc oxide, shouldn't be ingesting that, and titanium dioxide should not be ingesting that. And look at this one here, talc. Now, I don't know if you all are paying attention, but women have been suing companies, Johnson & Johnson, these large companies, corporations, because of talc usage and getting vaginal cancers and ovarian, cervical cancer from the use of talc in baby powder. So I wouldn't even crush this up and put it in a plant. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So what's our core nutrition? We don't want to chase after shiny objects when we're talking about, oh, this product is the be all end all. I only have to take this one thing. You do want a daily multivitamin, but it needs to be clean and it shouldn't have all the things in there. That daily multivitamin, if you start to mix things, again, you're going to make some other things inert. We'll talk about that in a minute. You should have some kind of omegas on a daily basis. We are completely deficient in omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory, and we are overrun in our omega-6s, which are very inflammatory in the standard American diet. So we want at least 1,500 units of EPA and DHA in combination. Those are the omegas that we're looking for. I put here preferably from fish and not flax. And the reason is because flaxseed is not straight away omegas. Flaxseed has to come in and make multiple conversions before it becomes your omega-3. And the problem with that is the conversions require cofactors like calcium and magnesium, which most of us are deficient in. So if you're taking flaxseed to get your omegas, you're not getting all your omegas. In fact, there was a study that showed you need 21 times the amount of flax to make up for this 1,500 units of EPA and DHA. So I would definitely go for the fish if you can. If you don't, if you're not vegan or trying to avoid animal products, then your fish oil is going to be your best bet. Your probiotics, there are multiple strains of probiotics that you should have. I have 14 different products that I can prescribe for you. What's interesting about probiotics, again, this is even more critical, that they need to be a standalone product. You should not have a probiotic that is in your multivitamin. You'll see that a lot in those wannabe everything products. So your probiotic should say on the bottle, it should have some letters and numbers after the strain name, and then it should say guaranteed live through date of expiration. I say that because a lot of probiotic companies will put on there guaranteed live through time of manufacturing. That means they are not taking responsibility for the product once it's left the warehouse. It could be sitting in a hot warehouse, they don't care, and then it gets to you and half of it's dead. These probiotics should be live strains. The companies that I use, they are shipped, they are kept in a refrigerated warehouse. They are shipped with refrigeration, cold packs, with styrofoam in the box to keep them cool. So I know when they get to me that they've been well cared for. They go straight into my refrigerator before I give them to you. And I say, make sure you take it home and put it in your refrigerator. Probiotics need to be babied a little bit. There's a few that can be shelf stable, but you really need to be mindful that you're going to baby them a little bit. And then vitamin D, we're all deficient, especially us here in the winter months. We're just now starting to get sunlight. So it's great to see the sunshine again. And I always recommend at least 5,000 milligrams a day, but get your vitamin D checked. And if you're below 40 or 50, you should have at least 5,000 a day. In functional medicine, we want to see your vitamin D number up over 75. So don't be fooled if you're at a 40 or a 50 and your physician says you're fine, your vitamin D is fine. You are not fine. You need to be up over 75 on that. So I say this, we need our core nutrition and then we can fill in the blanks. The problem is that when people start to take the supplements or even prior to being on this, and then they'll say, well, what should I take for my knees? What should I take for my brain? What should I take for sleep? We have to know that if you are not taking core nutrition, first of all, we're not going to out supplement a bad diet. You have got to get your diet in check. You've got to make sure you are eating fresh fruits and vegetables, high quality meats, organic sources, preferably, and avoiding all highly processed foods. There is nothing good about highly processed foods. So get them out of your life. Don't feed them to your children. You are just poisoning yourself and your family slowly. Once you get your diet in check, and you can start to take these while you're starting to make those changes in your diet. But understand that this is the core four that you should be taking. And then supplementing, using supplements to supplement your diet. Because we don't have the nutrients in our soil. We are depleted in our soil and our foods. So that's why I believe we all should be taking some type of nutrients on a daily basis. It's when people say I get everything I need from my food, that's really difficult. It's really challenging for a lot of people. I'm probably 90 to 95% clean on my diet, and I still take supplements because I have a lot of stress in my life. There's, it's good stress, but we go through stressors. We have, I'm running a business, I'm raising a child, she's in college, there's things that we do in life that we have to manage our bodies. Sometimes I don't sleep properly. I sleep great on a normal basis, but every once in a while I don't. So I'm a little fatigued. And those are times when the body struggles too. So I want to keep my nutritional status up as high as I can. I would much rather have more nutrients than my body needs, urinate out the rest, and then from there, and my body's going to be doing what it needs to be doing. It's going to have all the power it needs for self-healing and self-regulation. So I always say this, people are like, but your supplements are a lot more expensive. I've got several different lines that I recommend, and they do tend to be a little more expensive because they utilize that process of third-party testing that requires time and extra money. So think about this. If you go to a big box store and you purchase, hey, it's 2 for 1 day, and you got vitamin D and it was $5 a bottle, but it doesn't work, that's a pretty expensive supplement. So the most expensive supplement is the one that doesn't work. You bought it cheap, but it doesn't work. So you just wasted your money. So be mindful of that. You want to buy quality ingredients, quality product. When the supplement lines that I utilize, they are the dosages on them are actually quite low when you start to compare them to how much you have to take, let's say a big box brand versus something I might provide for you. You might have to take 4 to 5 times the amount in that big box brand that hasn't been third party tested to the one that's high quality, that's going to do what we say it's going to do. And now when you start to do the math, you got to take 5 times the amount of this one than this one. Now this actually ends up being more expensive per serving. So keep that in mind. So I wanted to provide for you today 2 QR codes. So I do have a store. I have a Fullscript store. This is a link just to the store. So if you want to get a screenshot of that, that'll take you to the Fullscript store. That has just about every high quality supplement that I approve of on that site. I also have on there a number of different protocols. So if you're looking for sinus help, if you're looking for just daily wellness essentials, those are on there too. There's a multiple different protocols for daily wellness essentials, meaning if you're a female and you want extra calcium, if you're active and you want extra help for your joints, if you are I always take the one for extra brain health because I'm a creative and I am running around. So I want to make sure that my brain is protected. There's one for blood sugar. There's a men's formula. But these all have in them what I was saying, the core 4, your multivitamin, your vitamin D, your fish oil. And then, they don't have the probiotics. So that's listed as a section of it. But you can get the packet, which will give you your core 3. And then a couple of additional ones, and then you add your probiotic. And that's all you need for now. And then this here is a QR code. It is also on the Fullscript site. But if you're just not sure and you're like, hey, this is what I'm taking, can you help me? Then scan this one here to the right, and you can put all of your supplements in there, and I'll be sure to get that on my end. It'll flag me that you've emailed me, and I can review that for you and tell you, yeah, these are great. If you're on a high quality supplement, I'm going to tell you that. But what I find is that most of the time people are not. So go back and read that label. If it has any artificial sweeteners, flavors, colors, or any of those other ingredients that you have no idea, synthetic ingredients in them, you need to ditch it. It's not going to serve you like you think it is going to. So, all right, you guys, that has hopefully helped you to navigate some of the maze. Please let me know if you have any questions. Drop your questions below. Let me know. Did you find some value in this? And what have you struggled with when it comes to finding the right supplement for you? I would love to know. And if you need any more help down the line, you can also shoot me an email and we can have a further conversation. All right. Thanks so much for watching. And I appreciate you all so much for being here. Please share this with somebody you know who could utilize this information and who needs a little boost to their health with some supplementation. All right. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks.